All the continents on Earth have now drifted together to create one giant landmass called Pangaea. And at its center lies the largest desert the world has ever seen. It's a brutal world where animals have to be especially tough. Perfect for reptiles. This is a 1-ton Siberian Scutosaurus, a distant ancestor of turtles. Although he has no shell, his back is covered in hard, bony plates, and just as well. These sand dunes hide a fearsome predator. Scutosaurus normally travel in herds, but this old male's got left behind, and his keen nose senses danger. Once he tires, he's vulnerable. His attacker is a carnivorous gorgonopsid. She's fast, powerful, and equipped with deadly weapons no hunter has had before. Exhausted, trapped, and weakened by his wound, the old Scutosaurus has no fight left. All he can do is wait for the killer blow. The Gorgonopsid's huge jaws hold a pair of fangs 12 centimeters long. She has evolved the world's first saber teeth, a lethal weapon some mammal predators will later use. In this harsh landscape, the reptile's biggest battle is now with the elements. A massive surge in volcanic activity is beginning to superheat the atmosphere, creating the highest temperatures life on Earth has ever known. Each year the deserts spread. Even here in Siberia, far north of the equator, animals are forced to cluster around any lasting source of water, no matter how small. The huge female Gorgonopsid has come looking for a drink to wash down the Scutosaurus, and even smaller Gorgonopsids will do well to keep out of her way. 5 meters long from nose to tail, she's the top predator on Earth. There'll be nothing to rival her until the dinosaurs evolve in 30 million years' time. But unlike the dinosaurs, these early reptiles are more closely linked to our ancestors, mammals, than to lizards and crocodiles. They don't have fur, but they've already evolved scent glands in their skin. This way everyone can tell when the giant Gorgonopsid is around. Despite the presence of these heavyweights, smaller creatures also eke out a living around the waterhole. Diictodon, a hardy little burrower, just half a meter long. They live as pairs in spiral burrows which remain cool even in the desert heat. Like the large predators outside, Diictodon are distant reptile relatives of mammals, and although it will be 30 million years before the first true mammals appear, there are already family resemblances. In particular, his hearing is linked to tiny bones in his lower jaw. One day these will evolve into our middle ear bones, something no reptile has. Several pairs of Diictodon live around the waterhole, but this is not a colony. They compete furiously for the sparse vegetation that is their food. This frequently leads to confrontation. These clashes are one reason why both males and females sport a pair of short tusks. There is, however, one big advantage to living in a crowd. If a neighbor spots danger, everyone soon knows about it. A gorgonopsid has come to investigate. A single snap of those enormous jaws would crush Diictodon, if they could get a grip. But it's not always size that counts. These tiny mouthfuls are more trouble than they're worth. The gorgonopsid knows that if she hangs around the waterhole for long enough, eventually larger prey will come to her. There is another, unseen resident of this waterhole. A monster much less suited than the reptiles to the changing climate. A fugitive from when this desert world was lush and green. It lies in ambush underwater like a crocodile. A giant amphibian labyrinthodont. But pound for pound, this female's picked the wrong target. The amphibian's ambush attempt was probably driven by sheer desperation. For generations, this waterhole has supported a wide range of animals, including several other labyrinthodonts. But this one is the last, and as the water she depends on disappears, she's trapped. The wet season arrives, but there's no rain. With life under such pressure, species are dying out at a rate that won't be matched until humans evolve in 250 million years' time. The waterhole is now no more than a large puddle. Diictodon are more adaptable than most. They can dig deeper to escape the heat, carving out tunnels in the rock-hard mud. But the giant amphibian is in big trouble, and as she grows weaker, her enemy watches and waits. It's a deadly game of cat and mouse. But life here is about to change for everyone. A migrating herd of Scutosaurus has sniffed out the waterhole. It's possible they smelt the water several miles away, and this could well be the first drink they've had in 6 months. The desert plants are a poor source of nutrients, but these large reptiles are designed to squeeze out every ounce. Although they cannot chew, Their huge stomachs hold stones they've picked up from the desert. These help grind the vegetation so their digestive juices can get to work. The tough little Diictodon are used to dodging danger. But the Gorgonopsid now keeps her distance. Even she dare not attack such a large armored herd. It's a standoff. It turns out the Scutosaurus are a bigger threat to life around the waterhole than the predators. Within a few days they have drunk it dry and moved on once again in their eternal search for food. They represent the plight of all creatures on the continent of Pangaea. The global drought is now obliterating millions of years of evolution. Life everywhere is on the brink. For animals that do not migrate, the situation's reaching a crisis point. Hunger drives the Gorgonopsid back to the Diictodon, and this time she tries to dig them out. But the Diictodon's hard work pays off. Their tunnel in the sun-baked earth is deep enough to keep them safe. Instead, the Gorgonopsid's nose leads her back to the dried-up waterhole. She senses things are not as lifeless as they seem. The giant amphibian. Just before the waterhole dried up, she must have burrowed into the damp mud, forming a cocoon around herself, in a last-ditch attempt to sit out the drought. But in her torpid state, she's helpless, as the Gorgonopsid feasts. Eventually storm clouds gather, but instead of rainwater, they bring sand. The sandstorm sweeps in, burying the waterhole completely. The vast Pangaean deserts continue to spread, snuffing out entire ecosystems. Even the mighty Gorgonopsid has at last succumbed. With no prey, even she could not survive. Mummified in the sand, this monster will soon be nothing but dust. Over the next few million years, the Earth will suffocate under a stagnant blanket of heat, sparking a mass extinction even greater than the one that will destroy the dinosaurs. The future belongs to a tiny group of survivors, small and adaptable enough to sit it out. The Diictodon carry on digging throughout the drought. This pair has unearthed plant tubers, which hold enough water and nutrients to keep them going for several months.